So welcome to the second video. The first video was about creating wealth. This video is about relating. Just to give you a bit of background on this, these workshops are part of a series of workshops, creating wealth, relating, and healing and hypnosis, which when done in a series as a group are a life transforming experience. You can do them one at a time, or you can do them in any order you want. Of course, one workshop will be very beneficial, two will be even more, and three will go deep into the structure of the way you live your life. If you would like to change and, let's say, get more benefit out of living. This workshop is about relating. It's called Relating, not relationship, it's called Relating. And the fact of the matter is we're never really taught how to relate. We're taught other things. We're taught to drive a car, we're taught to go fishing, we're taught in our work, we're taught at school, but we're never really taught to relate, or to relate clearly, let's say. So I would like to start this video with a story. So let's say there are two people. There's a girl called Jane and a boy called John. And Jane and John get together. They actually decide to have a relationship. Now, one of the things about a relationship is that you can't just do exactly what you want all the time. You can't do that. It doesn't really work. So when Jane and John go into a relationship, they have to compromise. They have to compromise their needs with the other person's needs. And so the dance begins. So there we have Jane, and she becomes a housewife and feels very strongly that she has to do her duty. She has to be a housewife, she has to look after John, she has to look after the kids, she has to keep food on the table, and this is important to her about how she does it. But in the doing of that, another part of her is here, a part that wanted to be artistic, that wanted to create, write books, draw pictures, things like that. And that part maybe gets a bit compromised. On the other hand, we have John over here, who also went out every day, went to worked in a job that he partially liked, and he worked steady at it his whole lifetime, earning the money to pay the mortgage, earning the money to put the food on the table. And another part of him just wanted to hang out and go fishing, hang out with the lads, drink a few beers, get away from the family a bit, and enjoy himself in that area of life. So already this equation, although it's simplified here, in real life has become less clear than it might be just John and Jane getting together. Because one of these, after a lifetime of a kind of patterned living, a patterned relationship, after a lifetime, one of these, or more, gets relegated what we might call underground. It's still there, and although this may be communicating a lot from Jane's point of view, the part that went underground and compromised over the years of the need to survive and bring up kids and all this also was communicating, but it was communicating in a different channel. It was communicating non-consciously, usually non-verbally. These would have been mostly spoken words, whereas this would be another channel. This would be a look, a glance, a tone of voice, an inference, even a silence. And this would be going on, and on the other hand, the same would be going on over here. Be talking about, John here would be talking about the work and whether he likes it, he doesn't like it, and what went on, and maybe I'll get a rise, and perhaps if I try even harder I'll become vice president. And over a lifetime of that, this side didn't really get much of a look in, and yet it was there and it was communicating. So on a different level, it was probably communicating non-verbally. So you have daily life going on like this, you have a conscious communication going on here, one set here, another conscious communication going on here, then you have another unconscious communication going on here, and another unconscious communication going on here. They get kind of used to it. They kind of get, let's say, not comfortable, but they get okay with this situation. They find their way around it and they work through it. They sometimes have an argument, but then they decide to have a child. Okay, so there's a child born. Here we are. Here's the little child who comes in the middle of all this, and there's so much communication going on. They say one thing and they do another. They do one thing but they say another. The mother says one thing and the father says something different. This is very confusing. This is very confusing for little John or little Jane here. So this is his experience of learning how to relate. Of course, there are a huge amount of other stuff here. There's all the needs of other people, because one of the binding glues of relationship is need. The need of society, the need of the person, the need of the partner, the need of the children, the need of this. So the little John, little Jane grows up, and these two, Jane and John, go into grandparents and then eventually die. And little Jane or little John has internalized all that. Those communications are all operating internally. So, whoa, it's a bit confusing. I want to go out for beer with the lads, but actually I also want to become vice president. Oh yeah, I need to be an artist as well, but not so easy. So then Jane or John meets another Jane or John here, like this. And it's just a muddle. And they work their way through, they go through, but it's a muddle. And we were never really taught how to deal with all this, the different levels of communication, the double message. So they come out and they go into a relationship and want the commitment, but actually also want the freedom. And when the commitment becomes too strong, suddenly they go. So you get this behavior, the seesaw behavior, banging backwards and forwards. This is demonstrated in many ways. It can be demonstrated over time during a relationship. The same patterned argument keeps coming up. I think we all know this. Da, 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 and you find yourself in the same thing again. I feel trapped, or why doesn't he give me more intimacy? Again and again and again. And you kind of deal with it, not really deal with it, but the band-aid is put on and it continues. And that's how it goes. It's very much a bind situation, whether it's to do with wanting freedom or settling down, whether it's to do with having intimacy or wanting more space or being strong and allowing a submissive part. These things are all the dualities that a relationship throws around in the energy field. Add to this the whole idea of marriage, and in a way our modern day relating is what you might call a grandchild of marriage. It's so woven into our society and our thinking, and the rules around marriage and the duties and the needs of many people around marriage are woven into our relationships. Even if we don't believe in marriage, it's there. In that situation, you're expected to be with somebody till death you do part. This is part of one of the religious vows are what you do. Till death us do part, I am committed only to you. So immediately your biology, your nervous system becomes in friction, in conflict. It's confused already, but there's a tremendous friction there. Because part of you, actually biologically, if you're a man and even a woman, the need is to keep the race going. And if that means looking at your neighbor and thinking they look rather nice, if all things were equal, I would like sex. But no, the married, to the exclusion of all others. And one of the commandments, I think, something about not looking at your neighbor's wife with lust or something. So you're put in this bind. You're told that you can only be with one person, but your biology is pulling you to look at the field around you. This creates an incredible amount of tension, an incredible conflict, on top of all this muddle here. And nobody has taught us really how to be clear in relating, how to deal with all this stuff. I have somewhere a quote from Bernard Shaw. Let me see if I can find it. Ah, yes. I need my glasses. Let me just get my glasses. This is an interesting quote that I found from George Bernard Shaw about marriage. He says, when two people are under the influence of the most violent, the most insane, the most delusive, and the most transient of passions, they are required to swear that they will remain in that excited, abnormal state and exhausting condition until death do them part. It's adding more craziness to it. It's adding more confusion. So what we do in this workshop is we pay some service to becoming aware of what this is going on, but more fully in the workshop, what we do is we bring a kind of harmony into the individual. More balancing of the Zorba and the Buddha, so that the Zorba and the Buddha in the person can coexist in more harmony. Of course, there's always going to be this seesaw effect, but you either go like this or you can have this. And it's a funny thing that we call it a relationship. Actually, it's moment by moment relating. I would prefer to call it a dance. And in a way, no matter what kind of dance people do, when the Zorba and the Buddha is in this incredible flow state, it doesn't matter so much about the form of the dance. If you watch two people doing a very formal waltz, but the energy is flowing, but inside the rhythm is there, then they're using the form called relationship to glide around, to flow through life. Or some people might have a really free form, contact dance, which is a different thing. And the same thing applies. The form is more loose, but the real essence is that they are connected on the inside to this ever-changing flow called relating or dancing with another and dancing with themselves. So this is what we will create more and more in this workshop. Come to it. It doesn't matter whether it's you want to explore a relationship with another person, or like a love relationship, or whether it's a work relationship with, if you always have trouble with a boss, if you're always fighting your boss, this is okay. If it's with your children, if it's it can be with any relationship. It can even be that this person never goes and gets a relationship. So you can bring any of these to this workshop and learn to transform and how to find that inner dance in yourself. And when your inner dance is there, then the world can join you more easily than if this is happening. So come to the workshop. Think about doing all three. It's really a life transforming process. Okay, I see you there.